Hello and good afternoon. What I have here in front of me today is a setup with Saitek's Pro Flight system. We have the throttle quadrant set up for multi-engine and single-engine use. We have the trim panel. We have the full rudder system set up down low. We have the Cessna yoke. We also have the multi-panel and the radio panel. Using this with X-Plane 9 and Carenado's Cessna 208 Grand Caravan. What I'll do is a quick demonstration just around the pattern with it, show you its ease of use, how it pretty much plug and play and go straight in. Also with the Saitek Pro panels you will need a resource plug-in for X-Plane. I'll link the site for that, and it works pretty simple. As you can see, we already have it preset, already done a pre-flight on the aircraft, and pretty much all the systems are ready to go. We have the autopilot set up for 1,000 feet for the pattern altitude. We even have the V-speed set up, so after I get the roll start, we get off the ground, I can just press autopilot and let it all up to that. We'll fly the pattern mostly with the autopilot and then switch it back over to manual control. So, here we go. Brakes off. Throttling up. One thing you may want to work on after you get your setup set up is the rudders can be a little oversensitive at first, so you may want to actually take the time and set your rudders up with a higher null zone. Now what that'll do for you is you won't overcorrect with your rudders. It'll be a little bit easier to fly the aircraft. If you're practicing crosswind situations, it's much easier to do that with a little bit higher of a null zone. Now as we're climbing up, we'll cheat a little bit in the pattern. We'll switch over to heading here. Just cut back to 220, the reciprocal of the runway we took off from. So as you can see, we have the heading changing here. We also have it changing down here on the display for the instrumentation. Maybe a little hard to see there, but it works very well. So we're setting up for 220, and there we go. Also, with the plug-in for X-Plane 9, you can have transponder functions. You can also do your density altitude on this side. The DME works somewhat, sometimes it doesn't work 100%. However, the ADF is nice to have. Nav2, Nav1, they all work. Plus the COM1 and COM2. If I want to get the ATIS for Kilo Alpha Bravo Yankee, just switch it over. Those of you familiar with X-Plane 9 would notice the actual pop-up screen and the robotic voice that we get. There we go, leveling off at our altitude, throttling back, bringing the pitch back just a little bit. Now, one of the beauties of all this system is the multi-panel does come with the trim wheel. However, it's a lot nicer to actually have a dedicated trim wheel away from all this, so you can set up however you like. I've used one of the stainless steel powder coated racks from Target. You can tie everything on with Saitek's provided mounting system, or some of this I even use zip ties to get everything on. So let's see where we are in the pattern. So we're past point of touchdown. We'll fly the rest by hand. And throttle back. Easy to get a little too much speed in the Caravan, especially with these settings. Toggling autopilot off. Coming in to turn our left base for runway 4 at Alpha Bravo Yankee. Turning off the ATIS. No need to call for clearance to land, considering it is a sim. Throttling back a little bit more. One of the beauties with X-Plane is, I'll show you in a second, you can easily configure all your buttons, all your axes, almost as easy as Microsoft Flight Sim. For some it's actually easier. Alright, we're in flap range. First notch of flaps coming out. Turning final. Using our trim wheel here. Second notch of flaps coming in. Trimming out the flaps. Continue our descent for final. Also, one of the beauties of the Cessna Saitek branded gear is, especially with the yoke, you get a full 90-degree turn, as we can see here. It takes some time to get used to, but it's nice to actually have it for realism's sake. Coming down, still on final. Put a little bit more nose down trim in. Have the outer marker, middle marker. And at this point, if I had the localizer set up for the ILS runway 4, I could almost hand it right over to the machine to fly it all the way in. But we're doing this by hand. And slightly ease out the throttle. Flare. We'll even throw in the reverse. And apply a little bit of brakes. Reverse out. And let's pull off the runway. Now, comparing this setup to other setups I've seen in the past and other systems I've had for hardware, I would say the Saitek gear is above and beyond even CH products. You know, there are a lot of people that argue they're the same. However, I do like the stainless steel shaft here in the yoke. This was easy to set up. As you can see, if you're familiar with X-Plane 9 or even X-Plane 10, you go into settings. You can do joysticks and key equipment bindings. Everything's easily set up right here. You just have a drop-down menu like Windows, and real easy to set up. Would I recommend this to anyone? I would recommend it to all my friends if they were interested in aviation. It's easy to use, simple setup, and once you get to know X-Plane or even Microsoft Flight Simulator, there are plugins to make them all work and work very simply. So again, it was a Saitek Cessna branded products in the Pro Flight line. Easy to set up, easy to use, and highly recommended. Have a good day and happy flying.